you. Well, welcome to Daytona Beach 1 Million Cups. We are brought to you by the Kaufman Foundation, and all throughout the country right now we have entrepreneurs sharing their stories, or maybe recapping on where they've been and where they're going. And that's what this opportunity allows you to do here. So if you know of anybody who'd like to share their story on a new business venture, and they want to share it with us, we'd love to have them. They can go online at Daytona Beach 1 Million Cups, the Facebook page. We're also brought to you by Volusia County Economic Development. Without their support, we could not be here, so thank you for them. And also Daytona Cinematique. Isn't this an awesome venue to be able to meet every Wednesday? They have events going on all throughout the month. There are schedules on your tables. Please support this awesome little place here. And they have there's a duck race that's brought to you by the Kiwanis Club here, and they are in support of that. And there are some little flyers about that. And if you can support that, that is for a great cause. So we have a great group of people coming up. It's not usually we got one. We got a whole family coming up here. Jack White and his daughters have created an awesome company that they're going to share with today. So if you can give them a nice warm welcome for Mr. Market and the family.
All right, there's a lot of people out there. Thank you all for coming. My name is Jack, and I'm joined by my daughters and business partners.
Wow.
Sarah, Claire, and May, and my business partner and brother, Drew. And I've always said, before you begin a presentation, you need to break the ice. And we like to do that with a joke. So,
Who's there?
Mr. Market?
Mr. Market who?
hold on everybody. I know you're excited to hear who Mr. Market is, but before we tell you who he is, we need to tell you what the problem is.
The problem?
Yeah, the problem. Financial literacy. Sarah, why don't you tell them a little bit about it?
Half of Americans financially illiterate, and most parents don't even know how to teach their kids basic finance. Most financial games are either boring or complicated.
What is our solution?
Our solution is Mr. Market teaches kids financial literacy in a fun and exciting way as early as 7 years old. How do we know? Because we were 7 when we made it.
All right, good. Well, let's talk about how it all began. Oh, those 2 years ago, year and a half ago. Now, we're not your typical garage startup, mainly because we started in our living room. And but we wanted to solve that age-old question of teaching your kids finance, which has typically been boring and not so fun. But we had to think back. I remember the time when what got me interested in finance, and that was baseball cards. Now, I really wasn't that interested in baseball, or I didn't really care much about the players. But once I realized that these little pieces of cardboard could be worth something, I was hooked. I got this little magazine called Beckett, and every month I would look at Beckett and realize that my baseball cards would go up and down in value based on the player's performance or their popularity. And that got me started in finance. Fast forward a couple years, I started investing in the stock market. Now, this was not an overnight success for me because I remember my first big investment, Just for Feet. You all remember that company? He was going to be the next big Best Buy for shoes. But I watched that company stock go from $10 to $0. That happened a couple more times until I ran across this little-known guy out of Omaha named Warren Buffett. And it was his approach in a parable he talked about a man called Mr. Market that was the inspiration behind this game. And so what you have before you here is our beta version. I say beta because it was the one we began with. But before we even started with this game, we had to answer 3 very important questions that every business owner has to answer. The first one being, can this product have a revenue stream? Can we have an ongoing revenue for it? The second was, did it have high margins? Were we able to make enough money on it where we could cover our costs and taking us to Fiji every other weekend. And third, and most importantly, could we scale the business with limited people? Because these girls still have to go to school. So anyway, we were fortunately able to answer yes to all of these questions, even though this is just a basic game. So Drew's going to talk about the actual gameplay itself.
Thanks, Jack. So Mr. Market is simple. It's essentially a stock market simulation board game. It's 11 rounds, and each round kind of acts like a single day in the market. Now, before you begin the game, you got to pick a Mr. Market. And Mr. Market is kind of like the banker in Monopoly. He kind of drives the game along, and before the game, he hands out $15 to each of the investors. Before each round, Mr. Market starts off by reading the economy, which is kind of the news of the day. Then he reads the story of 5 fictional toy companies. And each one has a stock market price that goes along with it. It fluctuates throughout the game. Now, at the end of 11 rounds, the investor with the largest portfolio is the winner. And what's great is it's a story-based game. So the first game comes with the first story. And it kind of gives us room to create expansion packs. So each expansion pack has a different market, a different economy, and each 5 new different companies that come along with it. So it's a new game every time you buy a new one. So it kind of gives us room to keep growing the game.
Thank you, Drew. Now we're going to talk about the very important successes and challenges we faced along the way. Where are we now? All right. So, we're going to talk actually first about our successes, and Sarah's going to start us off.
We had little competition at the homeschool conference. We've sold around 300 games and shipped them to 30 states since early November. We made it onto retail store shelves locally and in North Carolina.
Now, for every success in business, you might have 10 or 1,000 challenges. So let me talk about some of the challenges we faced. And I won't show only 4, although there's many more. So I mentioned our first game. Our first game that we ever played took place in our living room. I talked about that. And it took place over 2 weeks. And for us, the game was not just like the game board itself. We used Barbies and Stuffies for shares. For money, we actually used cash. And for some of the other products, we used dried apricots and pecans. So our first challenge was turning that into a board game, because you can't offer real money, and obviously you have to put food in a game box. So, but we were eventually able to coalesce and compress that into a game. Our first prototype we sent out and had it made cost us $250. Now, if I'm doing my math correctly, Mr. Market math or whatever math you're using, if you make it for $250 and you charge $40 for the game, you're upside down very quickly. So our business was not getting off the ground very quickly. So we had to go and find an alternative market or production route. Eventually we were able to find a place that would make the game for about $7. So we were in the money now, But we hadn't actually gotten the games because we realized that shipping the games cost just as much as the game itself. But even at $15, we still were actually making a profit. So we had them shipped. It took about 4 months, and they arrived late October this past year, and we started selling them early November. And we've had some early success in sales. I think Claire mentioned we sold about 300. But we're looking to sell over 10 billion games in the next 2 months. So, and so obviously we have some marketing to do. Who's going to talk about some of the marketing help that we need, seriously need.
So yeah, like Claire mentioned, we sold 300, which we're super excited about, which leaves us only like 1,200 left in the garage to sell. There's quite a few here tonight, so I think if everyone here could buy like 20 or 30 games, probably help us out. Now, what we need help with is e-commerce. So Jack and I both have like 0 experience with e-commerce, or really just kind of sales in general. So lead generation and sales are something we're kind of is a mystery to us. We've tried Meta ads, which is paid advertising through Facebook and Instagram, and it's been great. We've had some sales, and we were excited about it. We've sold in 30 different countries. It's cool to see it going out, but it costs us about $40 per game to sell, which is we have too much money, we need to figure out how to get our return on our ad spend down so that we can actually make money when people are buying these games. We've now are getting into trying to find larger networks, like financial networks, like influencers, podcasters, people who already have established networks that we can try and tap into, and hopefully they can kind of push it to their listeners or their viewers. We're also trying to get on Amazon right now. Jack's working with some Amazon, and we're also considering starting a Kickstarter. So if anyone here has any advice or experience or expertise in any of these things, we would greatly appreciate your help with that. So yeah, that's the end of our presentation. Thank you guys so much for coming out and listening to us.
Excellent, that's great. Love the way, Jack, you got an experience with 1 million cuts. You took that right about 7 to 8 minutes. That was awesome, man. Amazing, amazing. Things have changed since you've been here, by the way. Well, thank you so much. You guys, so exciting to see local entrepreneurs making it. And we have this opportunity now to open up the room for questions. So we're going to go ahead and hand out the mic and let it go.
Good morning, I'm Nastalia Business Essentials Virtual Assistant, but I also co-own, as I just brought back, Building for Generations Academy, which is a homeschool hub.
Wonderful.
So I definitely would love to get together with you so we can market this to the homeschool community.
We think it'd be great. You've got your business cards here. Thank you.
And we also have a social media platforms, and in Facebook we have over 1,300 followers in our page, so definitely would love to help
Well, thank you.
with that as well. But my question will be, how these little girls, they're so gorgeous, they're beautiful, how is their progress in learning how to do the stock market and all those things, what have you experienced, and you know, what can other kids expect from the experience of playing the game?
Well, so I could probably sum it up. I mean, they're going to learn the basics of the stock market. They're going to learn what I call money math. They're going to learn analysis. But the most important thing they can learn in this game, and I say this all the time, is emotional intelligence. Because you can be the smartest person in the world, and I've seen the smartest people lose money because they can't control their emotions. And that's where the parable about Mr. Market comes into play, because that's where actually it's Warren Buffett's mentor, Benjamin Graham, who talked about this guy who every day he wakes up, and based on his emotion or mood, is how he dictates whether he buys or sells, right? And so you have to play off that emotion, and to be able to do that, you have to control your emotion first. And so it's important for them to learn the math. They have to control their emotion, and they can learn that at 7, and they won't be making those mistakes at 18, 21, 30, 50. How old am I, girls? 46. We're trying to alleviate that early on.
And also, another question, is there any sort of university for teenagers? Because sometimes they miss the mark on learning with their kids, but they can still learn with their
Well, I can tell you, so when Drew, my brother, first played the game, and he's a teenager. he learned quite a bit on the market. So the story and the gameplay, while it, for a 7-year-old works, the thought process still works for teenagers. I would just put it because we started with 7. I wanted to show that you can start as early as 7 because people are intimidated by the stock market. And we're saying all you're doing is you're just playing basic math and you're playing a story. And Warren Buffett's teachings are really more story-based. You're investing in companies, not stocks, really, if you get down to it.
Thank you.
I want to applaud you for inventing a game and marketing it. I tried to invent a game called Sexopoly, and I invited friends to play with me. And the ultimate goal was to educate people in sex development and diseases. But when all my friends were done with the game, they all made appointments with their doctors, and it wasn't very successful.
Marketing the doctors.
So I thought about it. Anyway, I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about your copyright and patent challenges and cost involved, and also, did you bring any for sale?
Well, I'll answer the last one first. They're sitting on our product here, so yes, everything is for sale. except for Sarah. The other two are. The first question, copyright, and so we have a trademark pending, and I don't have my attorney with me here, otherwise he would be the one answering the questions. But to pass Amazon's threshold, you have to submit your trademark. So we're in that realm. I don't know about all the other elements that we have. But one of the first challenges I didn't mention is I wanted to have Mr. Market from the beginning, and I thought it was going to be difficult, but apparently we were able to get Mr. Market with the trademark. That was an important thing because of the story, and people ask where does it come from. That's an important lesson to have that name because one, it's for people that are in the business, it's very recognizable, so we want to keep that, and that's kind of our brand. What was your second question? I'm sorry.
Do you have them on sale?
Yeah.
That's the third. Yeah, they're on sale. I thought you had it.
So what was the cost involved in hiring an attorney and
Oh.
getting the trademark?
Well, the cost, I mean, well, in this case, it was pretty, he was a friend of mine, so at this point, it was inexpensive. And I am very cheap, so whatever I try to do, I try to get a little to no cost, especially in the startup phase. Once we reach our billionth sale, I think we can start to really live life. But until that, we've got my best workers with me. They're not my attorneys, though.
All right, I think I have my page up. Mike Bennett, nice to meet you. I'm Shoreline. You said some advice. I'm an advisor. A lot of folks in the movie. I've known you from the last couple months. I just started too back in November, just like you, roundabout. So I heard a couple things. A couple questions for you. You said any new business, and you're right. Been in corporate for a long time, trying to take it here to the small business market. Revenue, yes. High margin, yes. Tom's like maybe not high, but you got your margin. Scalable. So you said it yourself, and I didn't really hear the answer. You said you got up to North Carolina, but how are you going to make this? What's your plan to make this scalable?
Well, I should say, like any business, we don't have all the answers. The question we had to ask is, can it be scalable? The answer is yes, because I'm selling a game, right? So it's scalable in a sense because I make one game, I could sell 1 billion games, or I could sell 100 games. Obviously, there's more work, but it doesn't take, like if I'm creating a plumbing business, for every job I send out, I got to send a plumber, and I can't scale it as big as I could a game or something like that. I'm not saying this is Facebook or Uber, but it has the ability to be scaled, and that was the lesson that I'm trying to teach the girls. As we start to create businesses, we have to answer those questions. And so while on a very small level, we can answer yes to all of them, and that's what allowed us to kind of move forward. Because if we weren't able to have a revenue stream, and so our revenue stream, actually, Drew mentioned, is our expansion packs. So it's actually quite expensive. $15 is expensive to make and ship. Our money really comes from these expansion packs because those are made for about $1 and they're shipped for about $2, right? And we sell them for 20. So there's our margin. This is what we say is a gateway drug, and I would never say that to an audience of people that are listening or videos with me. But I can say that just between me and you.
So I would just all that sounds fantastic, and you're right, but I would just encourage you to think about scaling in terms of both revenue and expense. So you're talking about expense in the labor side and scaling, and that's true, and you're scaling on your margin. But scaling revenue is a bigger concept, and you get into marketing. A lot of marketing professionals in the room, a great group in here to talk to, many of them. But thinking about, okay, you got to North Carolina, you went there geographically, but then also scaling from a perspective of, okay, once that marketing's there, how do you scale without that labor, and if you have to bring that labor in the right quantities, and how, I think that's your next step, just personal opinion and professional opinion on that, and thinking scale from a revenue and perspective, a revenue and expense perspective.
Oh, sure. No, I totally agree. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Great job, Jack and Drew, girls. Andy Clark of All Aboard Stories, and I was wondering, obviously you're doing this like anti-online, because it's a old-fashioned game that you can play. But is there a way to in the future tie in online updates or your website or something to keep people updated? Because that would be obviously a lot less expensive, and maybe I'm not sure how to tie that in with
So I think I know what your question is, and the answer is we're not anti-internet. Obviously, we have to use the internet to market. Think of it as more of a journey. We start with the tangible and the tactile first because we believe that in some ways our society is kind of moving away from that. We don't want to get too far from it. So while I think we can eventually turn this into an app and find this in a digital sense, we wanted to begin on a tangible sense so that they could learn that first and then move on. I mean, all my stock trading is done online. I don't go to my broker. We don't, mail anything out. So, but we want to start and then again we understand what it feels like to experience it firsthand, and you're playing with your family. So it's kind of a double-edged or double-edged sort of. You're playing with a group, your family and your friends. And so that kind of experience also lends itself to more than just getting online.
I could see another version where you actually do invest, like a next version where people are, you're learning it and then you're doing it.
Yes, exactly. Here you can fail a lot, and that's the idea is that I wouldn't have lost $1,000 just for fees if I had a game like this. So it's that iteration to get you into actually doing it.
I'm Kelly.
That's my
I'm
wife
a mom.
asking the question.
you keep saying expand impact. Could you explain what that means?
I'd love to show you. We don't have our one yet. So the expansion pack. So Drew mentioned that in the gameplay there's an economy and 5 fictional toy companies, and so that storyline plays out in this game. Well, it only plays out once, and you've got to kind of play your strategy along that path. Well, the next expansion pack will come out with a totally different economy, which will be the storyline, and then 5 new toy companies or companies that come out that you'll trade and play on a totally different storyline, and that will play itself out. However many expansion packs that we create, and a lot of these actually are based off of historic markets: the crash of '29, the crash of '87, the rise of the '70s, and blue chips. And so there's a lot of. I'm a history major, so I look back and say we've got so much to learn, not just on the economies, but the storylines. The second expansion pack actually has how Atari got started with Nintendo, and they're not called that, but if you look at it, a lot of the origins of companies read like books, so we've just kind of packaged those into it.
Hello,
Really,
my
thank you.
name is Caroline, and I have 3 sons, and we do play a lot of games, and for us the biggest thing is always how long does it take to learn it? Is there a video to learn how to play it, and how long does one game take?
What was the first question? I'm sorry.
How long does it take to learn the game?
To learn the
like
game, okay.
Before I can play it the first time.
Sure.
Buying one from you now, opening the package, sitting at the table with my sons this afternoon, how long does it take me to actually start playing?
So the answer to your second and third question are yes. Our online video is on our website, and I think that's a 5-minute video.
Yeah,
It's a very short video, and we designed it for simplicity because if it's too complicated, I would never play it or understand it. So, like I said, there's very few components, and like I said, it reads like a storyline. So really, as long as you understand where the components are placed, you can start playing, and then your children, buy and sell shares based on their interest in the stocks that are offered in each round.
Hi Jack, Heath Jones, back from here. Thank you, great presentation.
Yeah, thanks.
So as the microphone was making its way down to me, some of my questions got answered. But in 2008, I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Saylor. Have you heard of Michael Saylor?
With he's the Bitcoin guy.
No, before that he was MicroStrategies, but he is the Bitcoin guy. But he wrote a book which I commend to you called The Mobile Wave in 2008. He said all the great fortunes of the 21st century are going to be secured by people who take things from the analog world and digitize them. So he said Google digitized Yellow Pages, Apple digitized music, Bitcoin digitized gold. And so somebody mentioned as it was passing back here about you talked about having an analog version in the real world, but if you want to scale this, of course, you have to gamify and create a digital game. that is how you're going to be able to scale it almost infinitely. And your costs, of course, will go down. But the other thing you can do if you make it a game online that people can play is if it's a game and there's money or there's prizes at stake, you can then convert it into an e-sport. So you can then create brackets and all kinds of fun. But you did say that what you were trying to do is make it a sort of community and have a familial element to it. So what you're trying to do is, I was thinking about what's the hook, because it's obviously you're passionate about it, but what's the hook about this game is that you said it's about connecting families back together. So there's two things that came to me, is that one thing that you're trying to do when you say half of America is financially illiterate, is you're trying to teach families to create generational wealth. And the second thing is, as a tagline that just came to me, is you could say, families that play together, stay together.
That's a great one. Yeah, thank you for that. And wealth is not always calculated in money. In a sense, we're trying to teach wealth in terms of education, time spent together. And so there's several layers to this, but I don't want to start crying, right? So, but yeah, so I get what you're saying. I totally agree. I think definitely scaling would be the digital side. But in a sense, maybe it's the time to go here. I'm not experienced, and they can't do digital writing yet. But it's perfecting this. I think if we can get the box to work, and then evolving into the digital side, kind of the full package or full array of experiences is where we want to be.
Someone said high school over there. I think that's how you can get into high school piece potentially.
Yeah, I think so.
Hey guys, Zachary Cox, Workspace Collective. First, I wanted to say congratulations to the girls. Getting up in front of a room and talking is probably one of the biggest skills you'll learn in life. So congratulations, you guys did an excellent job. And secondly, I just wish we would have had this when we were a kid, right? I mean, parents, we talk in groups of friends about how schools don't teach financial literacy and how much this would have been such a good tool. So I just love the idea, and I'm here to support any way we can.
Thank
Wish
you.
you guys luck. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Julie's got, Trish.
Mine's a quick one. It kind of piggybacks off what you were saying. When you talk about expansion packs, have you thought about doing one for adults? Because I know we're going to play this game. So maybe having one that's more, because there's a lot of adults that still have no idea about the stock market.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have any ideas as far as to make it more adulty, then I'd love to hear. I'm a kid, so I'm excited.
I think once Trish starts playing a game, she'll be like, tap it out. I don't want any more harder.
I'll be getting midnight texts from Tim, so I know that.
Good morning, I'm Julie Bear. I have a couple questions, but one of them is, have you thought about tying it to the new statute where all of our ninth graders have to have financial literacy as far as marketing their game to educators? Is that the entire state of Florida would help you maybe get it to that target? It's ninth graders that are going to need to be there.
Well, I would love it if somehow the government made them required to buy this game. I haven't figured out how to get them to write that statute, but my attorneys maybe that can figure it out.
The statute already exists.
I mean, that can be adapted so that you say this big long statute, and then you got to buy Mr. Market. But yeah, I mean, yes, I agree. That's why I'm so glad that in the past couple of years, financial literacy has become more important. But you can see that many of you don't know that what our literacy rate is 80%. Our financial literacy rate is 50%. We have a long way to go. So I don't think we've even skimmed the surface about where we can start with financial literacy.
And then just another question as far as monetizing, do you have an end goal for this to be purchased like by a Hasbro or partnering with like E-Trade, and your packs with each one is tied to some consumerized business?
Well, this was a way for me to work with my family. So as soon as that is taken away, then I don't know what I'm going to do. So it all depends on kind of where everybody wants to go with it. I wouldn't put anything out as far as ideas, but this was meant to be a family thing.
Charlie Howell. two things. One, I think the emotional component, emotional intelligence is really important. I recently started trading stock options, and the times that I got into trouble is when I let my emotions get to me a little bit on it. So I think that's really good. Have you thought about the Finance Academy at high school, Spruce Creek High School? That might be a way to introduce it to teenagers if it would be appropriate for teenagers. And I know they already tried to put the kids into a stock market segment to try to understand it, but this might be right down their alley.
I have reached out to them. I didn't get a response back, and that was by the time we started actually selling them. So I need to circle back with it. You know, like anything in business, you've got 1,000 different paths that you've got to go. So that's one area that I need to kind of reach back out to.
I don't know if you can see me back here, but I actually do financial planning at Eli, and I was just wanting to talk to you about, like, I have some friends that are influencers, and they have various followings from social medias, and one of the big apps that I see recently, I know there's some controversy about it, but is TikTok. They have shops on there where you can actually just go and press one button and you can already buy whatever game you want to buy, like in the click of your finger. So I was wondering if you thought about marketing through TikTok first of all, like outside of the controversy with the app, and also the second thing is, because I do financial planning, I work with a lot of like families, especially people with younger kids, and a lot of the times they ask like, oh, well, like, how can I teach my kids this stuff, or I wish that my kids were on this meeting, or things like that. So I was wondering if they're, like, I think piggyback off of what she was saying earlier with partnering with like E-Trade and stuff like that, if there was a way or a thought in your head that was like, maybe we'll bring the app over to some financial planning businesses, and maybe they can also market it for me as well. So you can still do it with your family as well, and they can also help you out the same way.
Yes, and the answer, I'm glad you brought that up. So one of the pleasant surprises we found is the financial planning kind of segment, because while selling to individuals is great, one of our best purchases was a local financial planner. He bought 30 games, and he's giving them to his clients. And we're trying to suggest, rather than giving your client a bottle of wine, if they have kids, buy a game. That way you're investing not into a nice night, but into a way to kind of, legacy your family. So that's definitely an approach that we love to get into. Part of it is what we're learning is our messaging. So talking to a financial planner to say, obviously we're trying to solve your problems. We're not trying to get you just to buy our game. We want to help you develop more business. That way it's a symbiotic relationship, right? So what's our messaging need to be as we approach financial planners or advisors to say, maybe next year buy 10 games or 20 games. I mean, bulk sales for us, we can obviously discount those versus on the individual side. So that's something we would definitely like to learn.
And we are looking at getting on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, actually, so Lou Paris, I'm sure he was here last week. I met with Lou. Lou's working on something similar to Planet, but anyway, he told me about getting on TikTok Shop and how it's a way, kind of the new affiliate type of programming, and so that would definitely be something we would be interested in doing.
Hi, I'm Alex Walker. I'm a professional networking facilitator. What kind of, obviously you're here, so you're networking, but what kind of networking opportunities are you utilizing to really promote your game? There's so many, especially child-driven mentorships and mentor programs here locally. What is stopping you from going and pitching this up to them? That's my first part. And then to piggyback off of him, with that, your financial advisor, how confident are you providing the sales pitch? Because you're bringing immense value, right? And if you are coming with an equal exchange of, look at the immense value that I'm providing to your clients, that you can literally play a game and they would come back and want to invest more with you, would that be kind of a sales pitch in itself?
Well, I think it would, but sometimes it's helpful to have the planners or the advisors tell me what they need, right? So I think it's helpful, but they're the ones who have to see the value in what pitching.
But if you sell it, then they would see it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not trying not to sell the game.
We use that language, we just need help getting in front
Yeah,
of
it's a lot of it's getting in
all
front of
these
people.
guys. That's what we need help
You
with.
talk about networking. I mean, I'm like any small business. Time is your biggest challenge because you've got again 10,000 paths you've got to follow. So you know, it's opportunity cost. Where do I see the best value? And some of it, I don't even know the networks that I'm not reaching. Right. So one of the things that we started several years ago, I think I presented it here before, is the Children's Business Fair. So these girls will be selling this game at our Children's Business Fair, which is March 22nd, so I'm going to tell you that, from 9 to 2 at Riverfront Esplanade. So, but, you know, we're looking for opportunities like that to get out there, sell the game, expose, you know, our product and talk about, you know, financial literacy and how we can be, you know, a part of that.
Hey Jack, first of all, congratulations. Claire, May, and Sarah, you did an awesome job, and welcome to the 1 Million Cups community. And I didn't forget about you, Drew. I know. So we have a couple of watchers online. They all agreed with what Heath said, that a family that plays together stays together, though they love that. And Vodine, she mentioned, what about a family learning to play Mr. Market as an event in our local community? Such as Workplace Collective, there was a shout out here, or another location like The Porch, which is a family-friendly location, perhaps.
For sale.
Oh, yay! And then I love what he said about like doing it digitally and an app, and I echoed what Andy did say. And maybe your digital app could be Miss Market, perhaps. Maybe.
We need a counterpart. Lindsay in the back, and I'm going to highlight her because she also has a new startup which is significantly further along than we are, called Shareware. So, Lindsay, you have a question? You can also tell us about your company.
Oh no, I would never do that to the girls, but thank you, that's very nice of you. I wanted to kind of ask a question, but it's more for you to clarify. Having tested the game, we were honored to do that, my family was. Can you clarify as to why you're selling this as a kid game? And I say that because my question number one is, as my son and I were sitting here discussing, how would one define financial literacy? I think that's rather subjective in 2025, so I'm wondering what you found, what financial literacy is. You know, because in that case, there are many geniuses in here. You know, and then Warren Buffett's God, obviously. So, if you could clarify that, but also the fact that having played the game, I found and my family found the only thing child-related is really that there are currently toys that you're investing in. Other than that, the analytics that come with having to analyze and look further along and make big picture, I didn't find any of that childlike. I find that higher level thinking. So I just wondered if you wanted to clarify that, because while I see kids being able to play the game because there's toys in it and they can understand, the benefit for adults is massive in my opinion.
Well, certainly, emotional intelligence is not an age, you know, subjective thing. But I think the reason we did it because I think investing can be intimidating, right? So if you make it so easy that a kid can play, it's almost like so easy that a caveman, what is it, a Geico commercial? And so it's kind of like the same thing. If a 7-year-old can play the game and learn, and just to give you kind of a brief synopsis of how our first game played, right? So, and I'm gonna highlight it. So there's halfway through the first game, there's this, you know, depression or recession, right? And so it really takes a shot at the opportunity for the kids to learn about when things don't go as planned. And so while 2 of my girls sold all of their stock, right, and kind of went for I'm scared and get rid of everything, Sarah, she doubled down, tripled down on this one that went down but had a lot of promise, right? So she rode it all the way through the end and came out a winner, right? So that was something that she learned at 7 years old. Right? A lot of us at 46 or 50
We're not supposed to pick favorites.
The second game though, so. But the point is that it's something that even a 7-year-old can learn. So if you're trying to learn something, if a kid can learn it, it shouldn't be intimidating for an adult. So I don't know if that messaging connecting or not. But if I put it out there in the world, I'm competing with all the other things. But if I put it in the kid realm, maybe I just use it so easy a kid can use or a child. I don't know. I don't have that answer. But for me, it was something we developed and thought that's a market that we could approach, especially in the homeschool arena.
Hi, my name is Judy Alderson, and I've been here before and kind of been on a journey of reinventing myself in my later years. And I'm sitting here thinking, surely I'm probably the only person in the room that doesn't invest because it's so intimidating to me. And I feel like as an adult, if you're not already in it, like understanding where to jump in and how to jump in, I just don't. So I'm sitting here, thinking, I'm going to play this game because it's about going back and starting in the beginning and learning those early skills. That is where I feel like would help me as well. So I'm like, all right, come to
It is the basics.
Yeah.
I mean, it really boils down to the basics. And if you follow Warren Buffett, he's not super complicated, right? It's a very basic approach. And then the further you get away from the basics, the more risks you take, and usually the worse you are off. So you shouldn't be intimidated at any point, but stick to the basics and start.
And our original messaging was 7 to 88 because we did want to include all age ratings. But I think we got advice from someone that we should probably niche down to like 7 to 15, especially if we're trying to target homeschool markets and other educational markets. But it definitely is super helpful no matter how old you are.
Well, and when you niche down, then other people will still jump in. But you're right, when you're within your product, you need to understand who your
And I think as parents play, they probably will see the benefits to it. So.
Hi, my name's Catherine Neal. One of the places I would really suggest you guys check out, and most people don't know about, are maker fairs. There's the largest maker fair in the Southeast. It's in Orlando. It happens once a year for a weekend. We get up to 20,000, if not more, people through in a weekend. And the requirement for maker fair is whatever you bring to maker fair, you have to have made. It has to be yours. It can't be mass produced. And we get tons of kids and parents and homeschoolers.
So would this apply for that?
Oh yeah.
Because we didn't actually make it ourselves.
No, but it's your concept.
Right, yeah.
You can't just like get a bunch of stuff from China and sell it there. That's not okay.
Yeah.
But I've been involved with Maker Faire for over 10 years since the first one. And there are Maker Fairs all over the place. They're in Atlanta, they're in San Francisco, they're in New York City, and they get tons and tons of kids, parents, grandparents, you name it. And
we would love that. And actually, like I said, we have got a children's Makers Fair in March that this will be sold at. So any other Makers Fair.
But the Makers Fair are international, and it's the one in Orlando is always in November.
Okay.
So you can look it up online. It's got videos. They got all kinds of stuff. But it's Maker Fair Orlando.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Is there one in Fiji?
That's just vacation.
Oddly enough, there is one in Kathmandu.
Good afternoon. My name is Bjorn. I'm a freelance salesman.
Also
Jack is my high school quarterback. So I'll do anything for you, Jack. I don't know what the project is, but I have 2 connects for Hasbro and Mattel. So get in contact with me. Let me know what we need to do. We'll get it over to them as fast as possible.
Well, thank you.
No problem, bro.
I have one more. I'm not sure if you're associated with the Board of Parents Educators Association, FEA.
Yeah, I think we were at the conference last year.
Okay, so their conference is here. I was just looking it up. It's May 22nd through the 24th. And if you came to the conference,
Yeah,
how many people come to
it's
those?
a great conference. Actually, that's what we started there to see would we get any traction. So we had enough interest there to say, okay, let's take it to the next level. So yes, it's a great conference.
Yes, it is. And for those who don't know, that's like the major homeschool conference in Florida. And it's in the city. And it really attracts thousands of kids and parents.
Okay, anybody else for a question?
Hi ladies, hi gentlemen, Casey Williams with Casey Williams Counseling and Consulting and one of the 1 Million Cups organizers. Thank you guys so much for your presentation today. This was absolutely fantastic. And so I wanted to ask the young ladies a question. You know, I work with a lot of families and family businesses. I promise I don't bite. It's not going to be a hard question. But I work with a lot of families and family businesses, and that can be really challenging, but it can also be really fun. So I'm wondering, what was the favorite part for you ladies so far in working with each other and your dad and your uncle on this business?
She came up with her name right now, so.
Yeah, or just the process, yeah, of working together, coming up with the concept, testing it out. You know, did you guys have fun making, you know, figuring out what you were going to use, like the dried fruits and nuts when you were trying to figure out what you were going to do for the long term? What was the most fun part of it all?
Yeah, they can certainly run the house for a while.
Totally fair.
So there you go.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you.
Okay, listen now, good here. The last question's always asked on 1 Million Cups. What is it 1 Million Cups can do for you?
Well, I think you've done it today. It's an opportunity, a microphone to talk to one of these people, and being here from a very early point, I'd love to see how far you all have come, and thank you all for being a platform for local entrepreneurs.
Okay, let's give them one more hand, guys. Okay, in true 1 Million Cups fashion, let's all come up for a